Israel. The Lord had brought Israel into the land that He had promised them and had blessed them abundantly. And you know, when we look at the stories of the Bible, we can just see history as it blends into the present. But Israel had been brought out of slavery, folks. And God had given them their land that He promised their fathers. Blessed them. And the first thing they did when they got settled good and God began to prosper them is to follow after the same gods that caused the people that were there before them to lose the land. Begin to follow after the same spirit. It's just a thing with man, you know, unless we're anchored. The thing that everybody's doing, let's just get into that. Even little kids will get into that spirit. Everybody else is doing it. You ever heard that? But we don't need to, folks, in these last days to get to looking at everybody else. We need to keep our eyes on Jesus. On Jesus. But old Elijah showed up. There was a king named Ahab. Elijah, he knew that there were some things beyond debate, folks. I mean, he wasn't going over there arguing. He knew there were some things beyond debate. He was settled in the truth that God had given him. So he told Ahab, he said, it won't rain till I give the word. That's bolder than what you know.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Folks, we get caught up in what we believe and never know anything, just always believing stuff.
Come on, sir.
Folks, there's some stuff we need to know that's beyond debate in our life.
Amen.
Just settle. He told Ahab, he said, it ain't going to rain. How many knows that won't make you popular?
Come on.
If you just shut your mouth. It didn't rain. The Bible said it didn't rain for 3 years and 6 months. Folks, that'll dry up a garden.
Yes, it will.
It didn't rain. And the Lord told him, he said, go down now and speak to Ahab. He said, I'll send you. And Ahab had went one way. He sent his servant Obadiah another way to hunt grass, something for the horses to eat. There was people dying, folks. There was starvation happening. And to save the horses, to save the stock, they were out searching for grass. And the servant run into old Elijah. And he recognized him. He said, aren't you Elijah? And I'm at David. He said, yeah. And you go tell your master that I'm here. Now, he knew he wasn't real popular with Ahab. But he knew the God he served, and he understood, I am a difference maker. Do we understand this morning that God has called us to be a difference maker? Because unless we know who we are, that God has called us to be above and not below, we'll be just getting below with folks.
Come on.
We'll just be sinking down on the level of the world in order for them to embrace us. Sometimes, you know, there's an old saying that says sometimes it gets lonely at the top. God's placed you at the top. Not because of who we were, but because of who He is. And He has put you in a position, folks, to be a difference maker. And so he told Obadiah, the king's servant, he said, just go tell him Elijah's here. I heard a story one time, I've heard it several times, of an evangelist one time. His name was A.A. Allen. Went across the country with great revivals broke out and the power of God was with him. He said he walked into a church one night. He was going to preach. And there was a man possessed with a demon. And I know that's not religiously correct these day and time to talk about being possessed with a demon, but they're real and
Yes,
possessed.
they are. Yes, they are.
He said he walked in and this demon-possessed man had just fell over into a seizure, was foaming at the mouth and screaming, and everybody was standing back kind of afraid. He said he just walked down to him and whispered something and walked on by. And the guy got up and sat down in his seat, flushed and folded his hands. He went on and preached, and people got saved. And, you know, God did a mighty work. Said when it was over, said the preacher said, "What did you say to him?" Said, "I told him A. Allen was here."
Come on. Come on, sir.
So that sounds arrogant. But he knew who he was. He just walked up to the devil and said, "Hey, I'm here."
Come on.
And you're gone. We have to, in these last days, have that Spirit of God in us so that we don't bow down to the things that the devil is trying to push into the church and into this nation, in our lives, folks. Well, Elijah said, "Just go tell him Elijah's here." And you know the story. He went and gathered all the prophets of Baal, brought them down, and Elijah gave them and challenged them. He made a sacrifice and poured water on it. Said, whatever God just lights the fire under this, let him be God. And the message in 1 Kings 18, here's the challenge. Starting at verse 20. So Ahab sent unto all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together unto Mount Carmel. Now Elijah's going against the religion that the government is backing. How many knows that the gospel of Christ today is standing against the religion that this government is backing? Better stand strong. So Ahab sent unto all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together unto Mount Carmel. And Elijah came unto all the people, and he said, "How long halt ye between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him." And the people answered him not a word. Now, he said, "Make up your mind." Now, they were still going by the name of the Lord, but they were serving Baal. Make up your mind. How long are you just going to be wishy-washy, he said. I mean, I'm at it, but that's what he said. How long are you just going to drift between one and the other? If Baal be God, just serve him. But if the Lord be God, serve him. We better know what we know, folks. It's time that the people of God knew what they knew. Don't just keep being hung up here, he said. Choose you one. Walk in the truth or just give yourself over to fiction, but don't just keep standing in the way. He didn't enter into a great theological debate. Let me reason with you about Baal. There was no reasoning to Baal. He was a metal statue sitting out in the middle of the field that they lit a fire in and threw their children into his mouth. He didn't enter into a great debate. He said, just choose you one. That's the way you're going to go. Go ahead, but let's just quit trying to mix God in with Baal. Too many folks, it's got who God is mixed up with somebody else. It certainly ain't the God I know. That's not religiously correct to say that, but that's the truth anyway. A lot of Jesus that's being taught out there is not the Jesus you've been taught.
Amen.
It's not the Jesus that heals. It's not the Jesus that delivers. It's not the Jesus that loved us in spite of ourselves. It's another Jesus. And you know the story. How that the fire, when Elijah prayed, the fire came down and consumed the sacrifice. Well, Elijah understood that Israel already had a knowledge of what God had done. Hey, they knew that they were brought up out of Egypt. They knew that it had been passed down, what God had done for them. They knew that, but they had let that slip. So Elijah didn't bring that up. He just said, choose you one. And he was not religiously correct at all. You read that story. Oh, the prophets of Baal began to scream and cry and shout and cut themselves, and nothing happened. He didn't say, I understand your little religious theory there, and y'all a bunch of good boys. No, he began to mock them. He's God, so he must be on a journey somewhere or asleep. He didn't make their God equal with his. He's got to be off somewhere. He had something settled in his mind, folks. Before he got there, he knew the consequences if he was wrong. But he knew he wasn't wrong. Too many folks hope they're not wrong, but they don't know. See, this ain't about it's quite a you. But this thing is not about what we figure out in our mind or some opinion we form. It's about who God is. Who He has declared Himself to be. It's not about a religious theory. It's about a relationship with the King. Elijah done been with him a while. See? He had something settled in his mind. So he was willing to confront the error. And until we get willing to confront the error, truth is never established. See, it's a necessity if we're going to establish the truth of Jesus, to be willing to confront the error. God doesn't expect you to be liked by the world. He doesn't expect you to be accepted by the world. He expects you to stand as an example of who He is. So Elijah just gave the challenge. And when it was over, God showed up and showed out. See, in truth, folks, what truth is, and this is what we've got so messed up. We've got truth mixed up with human intelligence.